That's where the story of David and Goliath begins. Long ago, in ancient times, two armies stood facing each other across a wide valley. On one side were the Israelites. On the other side were their enemies, the Philistines. Day after day, nothing happened. No one attacked. No one moved. Every morning and every evening, a man named Goliath stepped forward from the Philistine side. He was a giant, taller, stronger, and more heavily armed than anyone else on the battlefield. His armor was thick, his weapons were massive, and his confidence was unshakable. Goliath shouted at the Israelite army, daring them to send out just one man to fight him. He said that if he lost, the Philistines would serve Israel, but if he won, Israel would serve them instead. It was a simple challenge, but it carried enormous fear. The Israelite soldiers were terrified. Even King Saul, their leader, was afraid. No one stepped forward. The entire army was frozen by fear, held back by the size of the giant standing before them. Now, far from the battlefield, there was a young shepherd named David. He wasn't a soldier or a warrior. His job was to care for his father's sheep, leading them to water, protecting them from danger, and spending long days alone in the fields. One day, David's father sent him to the battlefield to bring food to his older brothers, who were serving in the army. As David arrived, he heard Goliath shouting his challenge once again. He watched as the soldiers backed away in fear. David was confused. He asked the men around him why no one had gone out to fight the giant. They explained how dangerous Goliath was and how no one believed they could defeat him. But David saw the situation differently. To him, Goliath wasn't an unstoppable force. He was simply a man openly defying God. So David said something no one expected. He said he would fight the giant. People immediately dismissed him. He was too young, too small, and far too inexperienced. When King Saul heard about David, he called him in and told him plainly that he didn't stand a chance. Goliath had been a warrior since his youth. But David explained that while he may not have been a soldier, he had faced danger before. As a shepherd, he had fought off lions and bears that attacked his sheep. He told Saul that the same God who helped him then would help him now. David wasn't confident in his own strength. He was confident in who he trusted. Reluctantly, King Saul agreed and tried to dress David in heavy armor, but it didn't fit. David could barely move, so he took it off. Instead, David went to a nearby stream and picked up 5 smooth stones. He placed them in his pouch and took only his slingshot, the simple tool he had used countless times while tending sheep. With no armor and no sword, David walked toward Goliath. When Goliath saw him, he laughed. He was insulted that a boy had come to fight him. He shouted threats and promised to destroy David. But David didn't back away. He told Goliath that while he came with swords and spears, David came in the name of the Lord. He declared that the giant would fall that very day. As Goliath moved closer, David ran toward him. He placed a stone in his sling, spun it around, and released it. The stone struck Goliath in the forehead, and the giant fell face first to the ground. The valley went silent. David ran forward, took Goliath's sword, and the battle was over. When the Philistine army saw their champion defeated, they panicked and ran away. The Israelites, suddenly filled with courage, chased them off and won the battle. David, the young shepherd, became a hero, but not because he was the strongest, not because he had the best weapons, and not because he looked like a warrior. He won because he refused to let fear decide his future. The story of David and Goliath isn't really about a boy and a giant. It's about how we face the challenges in front of us. We all have giants in our lives: fear, doubt, failure, or obstacles that seem impossible to overcome. This story reminds us that courage doesn't always look powerful. Sometimes it looks small, sometimes it looks quiet, and sometimes it begins with believing that the giant in front of you is not bigger than the strength behind you. David didn't defeat Goliath because he was fearless. He defeated him because he chose faith over fear, and that choice changed everything.